wind screamed across the white wasteland like a dying creature, sharp and endless, carrying snow that cut like glass. Ethan Ward's boots sank deep into the frozen ground as he dragged himself through the storm. His ship, a small scout craft, lay half buried behind him, its metal skin torn open, flames frozen by the cold. He could barely see 10 steps ahead. The planet was nothing but ice, wind, and silence. Every breath he took turned into a white cloud that vanished too quickly. The night sky above him glowed faintly blue, lit by 2 small moons and the weak flicker of a dying sun. "Come on, just a few more meters," he muttered, his voice lost in the storm. His body ached. The cold had already taken the feeling from his fingers. He found an old survival tent in the wreckage, half torn but still standing. It wasn't much, but it was the only thing between him and death. Inside, he lit a small heater with trembling hands. The weak orange flame looked like hope in a world made of ice. Ethan sat down, rubbing his hands together, trying to forget the loneliness pressing in from all sides. He was a soldier, trained to survive anything, but this was worse than battle. Out here, there were no enemies. Only the cold, quiet, endless, and waiting to claim him. Then something moved outside the tent. At first, he thought it was the wind playing tricks on him. But the sound came again, soft footsteps crunching snow, slow, uncertain, coming closer. Ethan reached for his rifle. His heartbeat quickened. He switched off the heater's light and waited in darkness, eyes fixed on the flap of the tent. The sound grew louder. Then a faint shape appeared, small, bent, struggling through the blizzard. He aimed his weapon. "Stop right there!" No answer. The figure stumbled forward and fell face first into the snow just outside. For a second, he hesitated. The soldier in him said, "Don't risk it." But something human inside him whispered, "Help her." He dropped his rifle and crawled to the tent flap. Snow blew in as he pulled the figure inside. It was a girl, or something that looked like one. Her skin was pale blue, almost glowing under the dim light. Her hair, silver white, hung wet and tangled around her small face. She was trembling violently, her lips almost colorless. "Hey, can you hear me?" Ethan said, pulling his jacket over her shoulders. She opened her eyes slowly. They were strange, wide, bright, with golden rings that shimmered faintly. When she spoke, her voice was broken and soft. "Warm. Need warm." Her English was weak, almost childlike. Ethan wrapped her in a thermal blanket and moved the heater closer. "You'll be fine, just breathe." But then something strange happened. Her skin began to glow, faint light pulsing under her veins, spreading across her arms and neck. Ethan stepped back in shock. "What the hell?" he whispered. The girl's breathing steadied. She looked at him, directly into his eyes, and for a moment he felt something deep inside his head, like a whisper not made of sound. Images flashed through his mind. Tall blue towers, burning skies, screams, and a sea of stars. Then it was gone. He gasped and held his head. What was that? The girl blinked, confused, as if she didn't mean to do it. "Sorry, Link." "I didn't mean..." Ethan stared at her. "Link, you mean telepathy?" She shook her head weakly. "No, life bond, you saved me. Now we are connected." Her words sent a chill through him, not from cold, but from fear. Outside, thunder cracked across the frozen plain. The wind shifted. In the distance, faint red lights glowed in the sky, moving fast, cutting through the storm. Drones, searchers. Ethan crawled to the tent's entrance and looked out. His military instincts kicked in. Those weren't rescue units. They were hunting something. Maybe her. He turned back. "Who are you? Why are they looking for you?" The girl's eyes widened in terror. "They come. For me, please. Hide me." Ethan hesitated. He didn't know who she was or what she had done. But something in her trembling voice made him move without thinking. He shut off the heater and covered the tent with snow sheets to block any heat signal. "Quiet," he whispered. "Don't move." The red lights passed overhead, scanning the ground. The tent walls glowed faintly red as lasers swept across them. Ethan held his breath. The girl's hand found his and became cold and shaking. But he didn't pull away. For a few seconds, time froze. Only the wind dared to move. Then the lights faded into the distance. Ethan exhaled slowly. "They're gone?" But when he looked at her again, she wasn't trembling anymore. Her glowing eyes were fixed on him, filled with both gratitude and something deeper, something he couldn't explain. She whispered, You don't understand. They won't stop. You are part of it now. Ethan frowned. Part of what? She turned her gaze toward the storm. The end. Or the beginning. And before he could ask anything more, the ground beneath them shook with a deep, distant rumble. Somewhere out there, something massive was coming through the storm. Ethan gripped his rifle tightly and whispered under his breath, "What have I just brought into my tent?" Outside, the red lights turned back, now heading straight for them. The frozen battlefield was no longer silent. The storm howled louder as red lights crossed the sky again, sweeping closer each time. Ethan held his breath, his rifle aimed toward the tent's thin wall. He could hear the hum of the drones, sharp, mechanical, cold. They were hunting. And not him. The alien girl, Asha, sat huddled in a corner, her glowing eyes wide with fear. Frost still clung to her hair, but her skin shimmered softly, pulsing in rhythm with her heartbeat. Ethan whispered, "Who are they? What do they want?" She looked up, her voice trembling. "Hunters. From your kind, humans. They took everything. My people, my home." He frowned, confused. "Humans? No, that can't be." Before he could finish, pain struck his head like lightning. Images burst into his mind, not his own. He saw Asha's memories, her world, once full of light, floating cities above silver oceans. Then came human ships carrying machines and fire. The sky turned red, her people running, burning, dying. He saw a small Asha crying as her mother pushed her into a glass pod and whispered, "Run!" Ethan gasped and fell back, clutching his temples. The visions faded, leaving only her frightened eyes staring at him. You put that in my head," he said, panting. "I didn't mean to," she said softly, her hands shaking. "Our kind. We share memory when we touch warmth. The bond, it's open now." Ethan looked at her, breathing heavily. "So now you can see my thoughts too?" She nodded weakly. "Only pieces, fear, pain, but also—" She paused, tilting her head. "You saved me. Even when afraid, why?" He didn't answer. He didn't know. Maybe it was instinct or guilt, or the simple fact that no one deserved to die alone in this kind of cold. Outside, the sound of drones grew distant again. He peeked through a tear in the tent. They were circling the wreckage of his ship, scanning it with bright beams. "They'll find us soon," he muttered. "We need to move before they track the heat signal here." Asha stood slowly, still wrapped in his jacket. Her movements were graceful but weak. "The caves," she whispered. "Under the ice." "I can lead you." Ethan looked at her suspiciously. "How do you know about them?" "I was born here, before the humans came. The caves were our home. Safe. Hidden." He didn't trust her completely, but the storm outside and the approaching drones gave him no choice. He packed his heater, a small light, a med kit, and slung his rifle across his back. "All right," he said, "but stay close. I can't carry you if you fall." She gave a faint smile as if amused by his human stubbornness. "I won't fall," she said quietly. They stepped out into the storm. The cold struck like knives and the wind screamed louder than before. The snow was waist-deep, making every step a battle. Ethan's legs ached, but Asha walked ahead with a strange sense of direction, her glowing veins faintly lighting the path. After what felt like hours, they reached a ridge where the ground cracked open into a dark chasm. Steam rose from below, Asha pointed. "There, warmth below, come." Ethan hesitated. "You sure this doesn't drop straight to hell?" She looked at him seriously. "Would you rather freeze here?" He sighed. "Fair point." They descended carefully, climbing down icy rocks, guided by the dim blue glow from her hands. When they reached the bottom, the air grew warmer. The walls sparkled faintly, covered in crystal frost that shimmered like stars. "This place," Ethan whispered. "It's beautiful." Asha touched one of the crystals. It glowed brighter, responding to her. "These are memory stones," she said softly. "They hold the stories of my people." Ethan ran his gloved hand along the wall. "So this is what your kind was like before?" "We ruined it." Her eyes lowered. "Not all humans are cruel. But some took too much. They wanted the seed." "The seed?" he asked. She nodded. "Life seed. The source of all Lyran power. My mother hid it. Inside me." Ethan froze. "Inside you?" Asha looked away. "That's why they hunt me. The seed can bring life back to dead worlds. Or destroy them. In wrong hands, it's a weapon. He stared at her in disbelief. You mean, you're carrying something that powerful? She nodded silently. And now, you are linked to it. Through me. Ethan's heart pounded. What does that mean for me? She looked at him, her voice soft. It means if I die, the seed will move to you. He felt his stomach tighten. That's not comforting. She smiled faintly, though her eyes looked sad. No one said it would be. Suddenly, a deep metallic thud echoed through the cave. The ground trembled. Ethan lifted his rifle, his instincts sharp again. They found us. Asha's glow dimmed. We must go deeper. They ran through the narrow tunnels as the sound of drilling and machine roars grew louder behind them. Sparks of red light flickered on the icy walls. The drones had entered. Ethan fired a shot that ricocheted off the crystal surfaces, blinding the drones momentarily. Asha reached out, pressing her hands against a wall, whispering something in her language. The crystals pulsed and a wave of blue energy spread through the tunnel, freezing the machines instantly. Ethan stared, amazed. You just stopped them. Asha swayed, exhausted. Not for long. It drains me. He caught her before she fell. Her head rested against his chest. The bond pulsed between them again, warmth spreading through both of them, stronger this time. He saw flashes of her mother's face, of her people dying, and of her small hands clutching a glowing crystal before being sent into space. She whispered weakly, Now you see why I can't stop running. Ethan looked down at her, his voice low but steady. Then we keep running, together. For the first time she smiled. A real smile, small, tired, but filled with trust. Far above, the storm continued to rage. But deep inside the frozen caves, a fragile bond had been formed. One that would decide the fate of two worlds. And in the darkness behind them, one of the frozen drones flickered back to life, silently transmitting their location. The blue light from the crystals faded slowly, leaving the tunnels in half-darkness. Ethan held Asha close, trying to steady her breathing. She looked weak, her skin dim, her glow fading like dying embers. Stay with me, he said softly, shaking her shoulder. You can't pass out now. I'm fine, she whispered, though her voice trembled. Just tired. Using power always takes part of me. Ethan glanced around. The air felt thicker now, warmer, but not safe. His instincts screamed that they weren't alone anymore. A faint metallic echo drifted from somewhere above, the sound of gears grinding and engines humming. He looked up and saw a small red dot moving along the icy ceiling. A drone. Damn it, Ethan cursed under his breath. They're here. Asha's eyes widened. They will bring more. Many more. Ethan quickly scanned the cave. There was no easy escape, only a narrow path deeper into the tunnels. He grabbed his rifle and switched the battery to full charge. Then we fight our way through. She looked at him with worry. You can't fight them all. He gave a small, tired smile. I don't have to. I just need to slow them down. Before she could argue, the air exploded with a burst of red light. The first drone fired, melting part of the ice wall beside them. Ethan rolled, pulling Asha behind a large rock. Shards of glowing crystal scattered everywhere, turning the cave into a field of reflections. Stay down, he shouted. The drones swarmed in, silver spheres with spinning rotors, their red eyes flashing as they scanned for targets. Ethan fired short bursts, each shot echoing through the chamber. Sparks flew. One drone crashed, its circuits frying. But for every one he destroyed, two more appeared. Asha clutched his arm. Ethan, their signal is calling ships from orbit. If they reach the surface, more will come. He looked at her, sweat freezing on his face. Then we end this before they can. How? By using whatever power you used before than the one that froze them. Asha shook her head weakly. It needs the crystals. They hold life energy. Without a link, I can't. Ethan thought fast, eyes darting across the cave. The largest crystal cluster stood near the back, glowing faintly blue. It looked like a frozen heart. He nodded toward it. That one. Can you connect to it? She hesitated. If I try again so soon, I might not survive, he gritted his teeth. Then I'll keep them off you while you do it. Asha stared at him, searching his eyes. You would die for me? He loaded another power cell into his weapon. I'm not dying for you. I'm dying for a chance that this nightmare means something. Something in his tone, steady, human, defiant, made her nod. All right, she said softly. Then together. She ran toward the crystal cluster as drones opened fire. Ethan stepped into their line of sight, firing back. Energy blasts lit up the cave in flashes of red and blue. His heart pounded, his breath short, but his aim was sharp. Asha pressed both hands against the crystal. Blue light flared, spreading across the cave like a wave. The drones turned toward her, detecting a power surge. Ethan shouted, "Asha, now!" The light burst outward, blinding. A deep hum filled the air, like a heartbeat multiplied 1,000 times. The drones froze mid-air, their red lights flickering, then went dark one by one, crashing to the ground. The cave fell silent again, except for Ethan's heavy breathing. He turned toward her. "You did it," but Asha was on her knees, shaking. Her skin was dimmer now, the glowing veins fading into dull lines. Ethan rushed over and caught her before she collapsed. "Hey, stay with me," he said, panic in his voice. Her lips moved faintly. Too much energy. "Can't hold." He pressed her against his chest, feeling her heartbeat slowing. For a moment, the glow beneath her skin passed into his, soft light spreading through his arms. It felt warm, alive. Then the light faded, leaving only the sound of the storm above. Ethan held her tightly. "You're not dying here. Not after all that." Asha's eyes fluttered open slightly. "You are strong. Not like others," he managed a weak grin. "Don't tell anyone. It'll ruin my reputation." She gave a small laugh, tired but real. Then her expression turned serious again. "The seed inside me is changing, reacting to your warmth. It's never done that before." Ethan blinked. "What do you mean?" She looked up at him, her golden eyes glowing faintly again. "The bond is growing. You and I, we're becoming one energy. If I die, the seed won't stop at you. It will become you." Before Ethan could respond, the ground shook violently. Ice cracked overhead. He looked up and saw massive shadows moving across the ceiling. "What now?" he muttered. Asha's voice trembled. "The main hunters. Machines controlled by human command." Ethan's blood ran cold. He could hear the heavy metal footsteps above the cave. More drones, but larger, walking on 2 legs. "War machines. Guess round 2's about to start," he said, cocking his rifle. Asha looked at him, her voice soft but filled with quiet strength. "You don't have to protect me. You could still run." He shook his head. "Running's not my style." Then he smiled faintly and looked toward the tunnel ahead. "Come on, we move deeper. There has to be another way out." Together they disappeared into the glowing tunnels as the ceiling above split open, and metal giants dropped down into the cave, scanning the frozen battlefield below. The hunt was far from over. The cave shook as the metal hunters landed, their footsteps echoing like thunder. Ethan grabbed Asha's arm, pulling her through a narrow tunnel lit by faint blue veins in the ice. The sound of the machines grew louder behind them, heavy gears turning, weapons charging, voices on the comms shouting orders in cold, mechanical English. "Target located, Lyran female signature detected, terminate both." Ethan's grip tightened. "Run!" They raced through twisting corridors, breath turning to mist, boots slipping on frozen stone. The icy walls shimmered with reflections of red light, laser beams chasing them through the maze of tunnels. Every echo sounded like doom. Behind them, a burst of plasma struck the wall, sending a shower of ice shards raining down. Ethan ducked, covering Asha. "Keep moving," he shouted, coughing through the dust. Asha stumbled but didn't stop. Her glow was weaker now, flickering like a candle in the wind. "I can't keep this pace," she gasped. "Yes, you can," Ethan said, half pulling her forward. "We're not dying in this hole." After a long sprint, they reached a massive chamber. The ceiling was high, covered in ice spikes that looked like crystal daggers. At the center stood a frozen river glowing faintly from underneath. Asha dropped to her knees, exhausted. "This is it," she said, her breath shaking. "The river leads deeper. It connects to the heart of the planet." Ethan scanned the area, hearing the hunters' mechanical voices echo closer. "How do we get through the ice?" Asha placed her palm on the frozen surface. The veins in her hand glowed blue. "It listens to us," she whispered. The ice cracked. A soft rumble filled the chamber as the frozen river began to split open, revealing dark water beneath, warm and steaming. The air filled with mist, thick and glowing. Ethan stared in disbelief. "You can control this planet?" She shook her head. "No, the planet remembers my people. It helps when I ask." Before Ethan could respond, the hunters arrived at the tunnel entrance. There were 3 of them. Tall, armored machines with glowing red visors and shoulder cannons. The leader's voice boomed through static. "Human soldier, surrender the Lyran host. She carries classified material." Ethan raised his rifle, his jaw tight. "She carries life. You carry orders. Guess who I'm siding with?" The machines lifted their weapons. The air hummed with deadly power. Ethan shouted, "Asha, go." She hesitated, eyes wide. "You'll die! Just move." He opened fire. Blue plasma shots lit up the chamber, reflecting off the icy walls. The hunters returned fire, sending explosions of steam and light across the cavern. Ethan dove behind a boulder, firing between bursts. His aim was sharp, but their armor was thick. Asha cried out, "Ethan!" One of the machines aimed at her. Ethan jumped from cover, shooting the weapon's barrel mid-charge. It exploded, knocking him backward. His shoulder hit the ice hard. Pain shot through him like lightning. Asha ran to him, tears forming in her glowing eyes. "Please, stop fighting," he coughed, forcing a grin. "Yeah, not really my thing." Then suddenly the water below began to glow brighter. The mist thickened, swirling like a living thing. Asha looked down, realization flashing in her eyes. The planet's core, it feels the seed. It's calling. Before Ethan could ask what that meant, the ice beneath them cracked wide open. Steam roared upward as hot light filled the cavern. The hunters froze, confused by the sudden energy surge. Asha stood tall now, her body surrounded by a faint blue aura. Her hair lifted slightly as if gravity had vanished. "Ethan, the core can hide us, but I need you to trust me." He looked at her, stunned. "Trust you? You just broke the ground open." Her expression was calm but intense. "If we jump, we live. If we stay, we die." Ethan glanced at the hunters who were recharging their weapons. He sighed. "I really hate your plans." Then he grabbed her hand. "Let's go." Together they leaped into the glowing water. The heat hit him first, warm, alive, almost breathing. They sank deeper and deeper, light wrapping around them like ribbons. Ethan tried to hold his breath but felt the air thin. His vision blurred, but then Asha touched his chest and the bond between them pulsed again. He could suddenly breathe, though there was no air. He opened his eyes underwater. Around them, glowing fish-like shapes swam in spirals. The walls shimmered like living veins, carrying blue light in every direction. "What is this place?" he whispered, voice somehow audible in the water. "The life veins," Asha said, her voice echoing in his mind. "My people built their temples around them. This is where the first Lyrans were born." As they sank further, Ethan noticed ancient carvings glowing faintly on the stone walls, humanoid figures with stars in their hands, surrounded by waves of light. "It's beautiful," he said quietly. "Yes," she replied softly, "and dangerous. The core knows you now too. It feels your human spirit. It may not understand." Suddenly the water began to swirl violently. The glow shifted from blue to white. The bond between them pulsed painfully in Ethan's chest. He gasped, clutching at his heart. Asha reached for him, panic in her eyes. "Ethan, the link, it's merging faster." He groaned. "Make it stop." "I can't," she cried. "It's choosing you." The water around them roared like thunder. Energy flashed between their bodies, connecting them in threads of light. Ethan felt her fear, her memories, her heartbeat, as if they were one being. Then everything went dark. The last thing he heard was her voice inside his mind. "Hold on. The core will decide." And then, silence. A cold stillness filled the air when Ethan opened his eyes again. There was no water, no sound, and only light, endless and soft, like drifting inside a dream. He couldn't tell if he was floating or standing. Everything around him shimmered in blue and gold. He looked down. The floor wasn't solid, it was made of energy, rippling gently under his boots. Strange symbols glowed beneath him, moving like liquid stars. "Asha," he called, his voice echoing far away. For a moment there was no reply. Then a faint glow appeared in the distance, a figure walking toward him through the mist. Her silver hair flowed like light itself. Asha. She looked different now, stronger, calmer, her eyes shining brighter than ever. "You woke up," she said softly, her voice carrying through the strange, still air. Ethan blinked. "Where are we?" She smiled faintly. "The heart of my world. The living core. You should not be here, but the bond allowed it." He looked around, still dazed. The chamber stretched forever, filled with floating crystal shards that pulsed with rhythm like a heartbeat. It feels alive. It is, Asha said, walking closer. This is where my people were born. Every Lyran life began here. The seed inside me is connected to this place. It's calling home, Ethan frowned. That's what dragged us down? Yes, it sensed danger and pulled us here, and to protect the seed. He rubbed his temples. All right, so how do we get out? Asha looked down. Leaving won't be easy. The core doesn't trust humans. It remembers what they did. Her eyes met his, calm, sad, and full of history. Ethan sighed. Yeah, I saw what we did in your memories. Not proud of it. Asha stepped closer, tilting her head. And yet you still helped me. Why? He hesitated. Because what I saw wasn't monsters or aliens. It was people. Scared people. Same as us, she smiled, faint but real. You sound like my mother. He blinked. Your mother? Yes, she said softly, looking toward the light. She was the keeper of this core. She protected the seed before the humans invaded. She believed there could be peace. But they came with fire. She gave her life to send me away. Asha's voice trembled slightly, though her eyes stayed bright. I was only a child. I watched the cities burn through the pod window. I remember thinking, maybe there's a place where someone would choose kindness instead of conquest. Ethan swallowed hard. And you think that's me? I don't know, she whispered. But the bond chose you. That means something. Before he could answer, the ground beneath them began to pulse faster. The light deepened, turning from blue to golden red. Energy rippled through the air like a storm. Asha looked up sharply. Something's wrong. Ethan steadied himself. What now? The hunters, she said. Their machines have reached the outer tunnels. The core feels their presence. It's afraid. The walls of light flickered violently. Voices, not human, began whispering in the air, 1,000 overlapping tones. Ethan couldn't understand the words, but he felt them, deep inside his bones. Asha's eyes went wide. It speaks to you, too? He nodded slowly. Yeah. It's inside my head. The bond, she whispered. It's linking you to the planet. That's not supposed to happen. Guess I'm not exactly supposed to be here, he said with a dry laugh. The light around them formed into shapes, tall figures made of crystal and flame, Lyran ancestors. Their faces were calm, ageless. One stepped forward, its voice echoing like wind through a canyon. You bring human blood to the heart. Why? Asha bowed her head. He saved me. He carries the bond. The seed reacts to him, the voice rumbled. Humans destroyed us. Ethan clenched his fists. I know, and I'm sorry. But I'm not here to finish that. I'm here because she'd be dead without me. And because I'm not leaving her to fight alone. The glowing figures whispered among themselves, light swirling faster. Then the lead figure turned back to Asha. The seed must find balance between life and death. Between human and Lyran, it must choose. Asha's hand trembled. Choose what? The voice deepened. A host, Ethan froze. You mean? Asha looked at him with pain in her eyes. It means the seed must leave me. And enter you. He took a step back. Wait, what? No way. I'm not your kind when my body can't. You already carry part of it, she interrupted softly. That's why you're alive after the fall. It's already inside you waiting. Ethan shook his head. If I take it, what happens to you? Her silence was answer enough. He stared at her. No, there's got to be another way. Asha stepped closer, placing her glowing hand over his heart. If the seed dies with me, this world dies forever. Every memory, every voice, gone. But if it lives in you, maybe humans and Lyrans can both survive. He wanted to argue, to refuse. But when her fingers touched his chest, the warmth spread again. His vision blurred with flashes of her memories. Laughter, sunlight on silver oceans, her mother's voice whispering lullabies. Asha smiled sadly. See, you already hold our world. He swallowed hard, eyes stinging. You'll disappear? Her smile deepened. Not disappear. Change. I will live through you. In your warmth, in your blood, in every choice you make. The ancestors' voices grew louder, chanting words Ethan couldn't understand. The air shimmered with gold light. Asha took his hand and placed it over her heart. Close your eyes, Ethan, let it happen. He did. A flash of light exploded between them. Energy surged through his body, burning alive, pure. He felt her heartbeat merge with his, felt her thoughts, her emotions, her soul. His veins glowed with blue light. When it ended, he fell to his knees, gasping. The light around them dimmed. Asha knelt beside him, fading, transparent but smiling. You carry it now. Protect it. Protect life. Then she was gone, her glow dissolving into particles of light that swirled into his chest. Ethan sat there in silence, trembling. The chamber was quiet again, only the hum of the core beneath him. He looked down at his hands, glowing faintly blue, and deep inside, he could still hear her voice. We are not so different. Ethan Ward, don't let them take the light again. Silence. Only his heartbeat filled the vast chamber now. Strong, heavy, not entirely human anymore. Ethan Ward stood alone in the golden light of the Lyran core. His breath came slow and deep, glowing mist rising from his lips. The veins on his hands shimmered faintly blue, pulsing like living light beneath his skin. He could still feel her. Asha. Not as a voice in his ear, but as a warmth inside him, steady, gentle. Watching, he whispered into the still air. Asha, you're still here, aren't you? A soft hum answered, not in words, but emotion. Yes, Ethan exhaled, closing his eyes. All right then, let's finish what we started. He turned toward the path that led upward. The glowing tunnel stretched endlessly, flickering with faint whispers, echoes of the Lyran ancestors, murmuring like wind through glass. As he climbed, he felt the planet itself responding to him, walls pulsing faintly with every step, lights brightening when his hands brushed the stone. The bond had changed him. He wasn't just human anymore. He was something between worlds. But above, danger waited. A deep rumble shook the tunnel, followed by the distant sound of engines. The hunters, the humans, they were drilling into the core chamber, desperate to retrieve the seed they thought was still inside Asha. Ethan gritted his teeth. They don't know it's in me now, he muttered, and that's going to be their mistake. He reached the surface tunnel where the ice met rock and the air grew colder again. The storm outside had calmed, but only because the heavy machines had landed. Through the cracks, he could see the glow of human warships hovering over the frozen plains. Voices came through the static of his old helmet, still half-functional. Squad Delta, move to extraction point. Confirm retrieval of the Lyran host. Negative visual on target. Thermal readings suggest movement near the caves. Command says authorization granted for total eradication. The planet's expendable. Ethan froze. Expendable. They were going to destroy the planet, Asha's world, her memories, her life, all of it. He clenched his fists. Blue light flickered around them like lightning trapped in skin. Not this time, he said quietly. As he stepped out into the open, snow crunched beneath his boots. Above him, the dark sky swirled with storm clouds and streaks of red light from descending dropships. Soldiers in black armor spread out across the ice, their visors glowing red. Drones circled overhead, scanning. One of them spotted him. Contact. Human survivor. Possible contamination. They aimed. Plasma fire exploded across the ice. Ethan didn't flinch. The first shot hit his chest, but the energy didn't burn. It dissolved into light before touching him. His skin absorbed it, glowing brighter. The soldiers hesitated, confused. Ethan looked up, eyes blazing gold. You shouldn't have come. With a motion of his hand, the ground beneath the soldiers cracked. Blue light burst upward from the ice, energy veins responding to him like muscle memory. The shock wave threw the men backward, scattering weapons into the snow. He walked forward slowly, calm but unstoppable. Every step left glowing footprints that burned like stars. Identify yourself, one soldier shouted, terrified. Ethan's voice echoed through the storm, deeper now, touched by another world. I am the last light of the Lyrans, and I'm human. He raised his hand and the sky answered. Bolts of blue lightning struck the drones from above, melting them midair. The warships hovering overhead tried to rise, but the planet's own energy pulled them down, gravity bending under Ethan's will. The humans on the ground fell to their knees, blinded by the light. Inside his chest, he felt Asha's warmth, a quiet whisper guiding him. Don't kill them, Ethan. Protect even those who don't deserve it. His anger burned, but he stopped. The light faded from his hands. The ground stilled. He knelt beside a fallen soldier, their visor cracked open, revealing a young face onto barely older than 20. The boy's eyes were filled with fear. Ethan saw himself in them. Lost, human, obeying orders he didn't understand. Ethan placed a glowing hand on the soldier's chest. You came here to kill. You'll leave remembering what life feels like. The light from his palm spread into the soldier's armor, neutralizing the toxins and stabilizing his pulse. The young man gasped in shock. Alive, Ethan stood. Around him, others began to wake, confused, disarmed, but alive. He looked to the sky. The largest ship hovered there, the command vessel. Its metallic voice boomed through loudspeakers. Unknown entity detected. Prepare orbital strike. Ethan's jaw tightened. He could see the cannon charging, a bright red beam gathering energy. He closed his eyes. Asha's voice echoed inside him, soft and sad. You can stop them, but it will cost you, he whispered back. What do you mean? Your body isn't ready for this power. It will burn you away, but the planet will live. He exhaled slowly, snow melting around him from the heat of his pulse. Then let's give them something to remember. He raised both hands to the sky. Blue fire erupted from his body, swirling upward like a storm of light. The clouds parted as a massive wave of energy surged through the atmosphere, colliding with the red beam before it could strike. The explosion lit the entire horizon. The humans shielded their eyes, falling to the ground. The shock wave rippled across the ice, melting miles of snow, revealing crystal plains below. When the light faded, the sky was clear. The warship was gone, vaporized, and Ethan stood alone in the center of a circle of glassed earth, his body glowing faintly. His voice trembled. Asha, did we do it? A whisper answered, warm as sunlight. Yes, you did. He looked down at his glowing hands, smiling weakly. Guess that makes me half alien now, huh? The whisper giggled softly inside his mind. Half human, half hope. He looked toward the rising sun over the horizon, the first the planet had seen in centuries, and whispered, then maybe that's enough. The wind blew gently across the plains, carrying the voices of the Lyrans like a song. Ethan stood tall, eyes glowing gold, guarding the reborn world that now lived through him, and far beneath the surface, the core pulsed once more, a heartbeat shared between two species, human and alien, united in one name, Ethan Ward, the light bearer. The sun rose slowly over the frozen horizon, painting gold over the endless white plains. For the first time in centuries, warmth touched the surface of the Lyran world. Steam rose where the ice had begun to melt, revealing glimmering crystals and forgotten ruins beneath. Ethan Ward stood at the center of it all, surrounded by silence. His breath glowed faintly in the cool air. His armor was cracked and scorched, his hands burned and glowing softly from within. He was no longer just a man. He was something more. The planet pulsed quietly beneath his feet, like a heartbeat that matched his own. He looked down at his reflection in the ice. His eyes, once dark green, now shimmered golden blue, alive with Lyran light. The warmth in his chest wasn't only his. It was her, Asha. He smiled faintly. You're still here. Her voice answered, soft as wind through the snow. Always. For a moment he closed his eyes and listened. To her, to the planet, to everything living and breathing once again. Tiny glowing plants were already sprouting from the melted soil, their light spreading like stars on the ground. The planet was healing, but above him, the sky still carried the dark trails of retreating ships. Humanity had seen what happened. They would return, curious, maybe afraid. He whispered, they'll come again. They always do. Asha's voice was calm. Then show them what mercy looks like. He nodded slowly. Yeah, I'll try. Far above the planet, aboard the orbiting human vessel Horizon Spear, chaos filled the control deck. Sir, we're reading massive energy readings from the surface, unprecedented levels, shouted one of the officers. It's like the planet's alive again. The commander leaned forward, his face pale. And what about the strike team? The officer hesitated. All life signs are active, sir. No fatalities. But their weapons are melted. Their power armor systems have fused. The commander frowned. Fused? How? A second officer turned from the sensor display. We've detected one humanoid energy signature at the center of the blast zone. It's emitting more power than our ship's reactor. Show me. The hollow screen flickered to life, showing a glowing figure standing amidst the ruins, tall, calm, surrounded by light. His human form shone against the icy landscape like a beacon. The commander whispered, "Who? What is that?" No one answered, but then a signal came through, faint, distorted, but unmistakably human. "This is Ethan Ward, former recon soldier, serial 9125. Tell command they don't own this world anymore." The bridge fell silent. "This planet breathes again. Leave it be, or I'll show you what a human heart can do when it carries two worlds inside it." The message cut off, and the signal vanished. The commander leaned back in disbelief. "He's alive?" The officer's voice trembled. "Sir, he's not just alive, he's changed." Back on the planet, Ethan walked across the thawing plains. The light beneath the ice followed him, spreading warmth wherever he stepped. Snow melted into rivers. The ground cracked open, revealing buried Lyran temples, glowing faintly from within. From the shattered caverns nearby, small glowing creatures emerged, fragile beings made of light and mist, the first new life born from the revived core. They followed him quietly, as if recognizing their protector. Asha's voice echoed gently within him. "They are the children of the seed. The planet remembers its promise." Ethan knelt and held out his hand. One of the creatures floated closer, a small orb of blue light with tiny petal-like wings. It rested in his palm and pulsed softly. He smiled. "So, you're what she gave her life for." "What we gave," Asha whispered. "You carry her too now. The balance of human will and Lyran spirit. That's the beginning of something new." He nodded. "Then we'll keep it safe, together." Hours passed. The sun climbed higher, melting more of the frozen wasteland. The air shimmered with new life, the scent of water and energy mixing together. But Ethan wasn't alone anymore. The surviving human soldiers, the ones who had come to kill, were slowly waking across the plains, confused, weak, but alive. They looked around in awe at the reborn landscape. One of them, the young soldier Ethan had saved earlier, stood and stared at the glowing man walking toward him. "Sir," he said softly, lowering his rifle. "What are you?" Ethan stopped in front of him, his golden eyes kind but firm. "Still human, just changed." The soldier hesitated. "You killed our ships. You could have killed all of us." "I could have," Ethan said quietly. "But that's what we've always done, and destroy what we fear. I'm done with that." He placed a glowing hand on the soldier's chest right above his heart. The young man flinched but didn't pull away. "Tell them," Ethan said. "Tell command there's another way to be strong and without war." The soldier nodded slowly. "Yes, sir." Ethan turned his gaze toward the horizon, where new light danced across the mountains. The air was warmer now, alive with the hum of rebirth. Asha's voice whispered again, filled with quiet pride. "You kept your promise," he smiled faintly. "No, we did." The ground trembled gently, as if the planet itself agreed. From deep below, the core pulsed once more, a heartbeat that echoed across the stars. And for the first time in 1,000 years, the Lyran world sang. Far in the distance, one of the soldiers recorded the scene with his helmet camera. Later, when the video reached Earth, billions would see it. A lone man standing under alien sunlight, glowing with golden blue fire, surrounded by life returning to a once-dead planet. The caption would spread faster than any command order ever could. Humanity found light among the stars, and it was one of our own who carried it. Ethan looked toward the dawn, his voice calm and steady. "Let them come," he murmured. "This time they'll find something worth saving." The wind rose softly around him, carrying both human breath and alien whisper. Two souls, one purpose. And as the sun fully broke the horizon, Ethan Ward, the light-bearer, began his long walk across a reborn world, guarding the fragile peace that would change both species forever.